So it was about 20 years ago, a group of us got together and we said we want to do something to honor the seasoned saints in our church who have served so faithfully. God laid on our hearts oaks of righteousness. Based on Isaiah 61, you shall be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor. I'm thrilled that Chuck and Rachel are our oaks of righteousness this year. You're going to hear a lot of wonderful things about them, their love for the Lord, their love for people, their love for each other. But I'm excited because of your love for me and my family. Ever since you've come to this church, I feel that you've been in my corner praying for me and supporting me. I've loved serving the Lord together with you all, and you've always spoken words of encouragement. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever heard you speak a negative word about anybody. And you've been there for my family. I remember a time years back where we were going through some difficult times with one of our children, and you prayed for us, and you sent us a card with promises for them specifically. I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, plans to give you a future and great hope. Thank you for loving us, and I'm thrilled that you are the oaks of righteousness this year.
I went to Kate Waller Barrett Elementary School, which is just a block or two from my house. Then I went to Wakefield High School and finally ended up at Ohio Wesleyan University. Came back to Washington to go to American University. My dad was an Associated Press reporter, so he was conveniently located because he worked at the Capitol.
I was born in Dry Fork, Virginia. That's Pennsylvania County, and that is probably 12 miles from Danville, Virginia. My dad was a type of alcoholic. He could stay sober for maybe 2 months, 3 months, or sometimes longer, and then he would go on a binge and just drink until everything was gone. And my mom ended up, she worked later on in Dan River Mills, where they make the fabrics and so forth. That's no longer there.
Lived in the days which I'd call the happy days. It was probably the last of the generation of carefree kids.
I was the oldest, so I had a lot of jobs to do. I had to take care of my younger children, my younger sisters, and I'd cook dinner every night. And my dad would come home, and at that time there wasn't a lot of refrigeration or things in the house, and so he would just stop at, my grandfather had a grocery store right in front of us, and he would pick up meat and bring it home, and I would cook it, and we'd have French fries and meat, and I had to make biscuits all the time. So I was kind of like the little mom there, because my mom worked the second shift and went off to work. When I got to the 11th and 12th grade, my best friend and I, Dorothy, had decided that we were going to leave Dry Fork, Virginia, and come to D.C. and work. And at the end of it, after we graduated from high school, my friend couldn't come. She said her mom cried and she was going to stay home. So that left me to come by myself, and I stayed with one uncle for a little while that brought me up here. And then I lived with my other, my Aunt Marcella and her husband Richard. So he worked for the Department of Interior.
Well, Rachel and I were working for the Department of Interior. She was the first year out of high school. This was 1957. I was on a semester or summer break from the first year of college. And we met at the bus stop. And in fact, it was the bus stop right in front of the old Navy Annex. There used to be the Navy War Building that's across from the Department of Interior, which has been since taken down. But we met there, and I thought, boy, there's a beautiful girl. What a knockout. And so I struck up a conversation, and we talked and so forth. And then in the evening time, we would meet again at our bus stops to go home, and we would talk. And it wasn't very long after that I asked her out on a date, and she accepted. And that was all it took for me. I was head over heels in love with her. I mean, they say there's no such thing as a first sight love, but I don't believe it. I believe that really happened with us.
And then he went away to college. So that was the end of him for a while. We had fun together. showed me all around. He took me all to the places in D.C. and showed me all the neat things. And by the way, if my children are listening, this is the first time I ever had pizza, because there was one place in D.C. that had a pizza place, and he took me there. One thing about the marriage and our honeymoon, when I worked for the Department of Interior, they had a Miss Interior every year.
It's a beauty contest.
Anyway, they had that every year, and you have to wear a bathing suit, not having any money or anything, and his parents had literally paid for our wedding. So to be Miss Interior, if you got that, you would win a trip to Florida, and a week's there at a Beaumont hotel, all expenses paid. So I just asked the Lord, that would be, just make it right if I could help out in that way. And I ended up being Miss Interior, 1959.
So we were so poor that if she hadn't won that contest, we would have probably been on a tent down at Hatteras Island.
Probably not.
For our honeymoon.
I hope not.
Rachel and I were married in 1959. We were both 21 years old. When we were 23, Brenda, our oldest, came. She was born in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown Hospital. Brenda, beautiful girl. I hope you get a picture of that. And shortly after Brenda was born, I was moved from Washington to Phoenix, Arizona, to take a job as a trainee appraiser in Phoenix. And we were there for 5 years, and Sharon was born. Sharon's our second girl, and also a very beautiful girl. And we were blessed with 2 boys when we came back to Washington in 1969 and 1971. Mm-hmm. And so we have 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys, and 10 grandchildren. And we're proud as punch with all of them.
I was blessed to be able to stay home and quit my job. I'd worked for 5 years for the Department of Interior, and even after we moved to Arizona, I did work there for a few months, but I decided it wasn't right for me to leave Brenda in the nursery. So I quit my job, even though we didn't have the money to make it, and got to be with her, and that was the beginning of the right thing to do. But I enjoyed my children very much. That's one thing I can say, because I could be home with them, and I can remember times when I would, moms would say, "Oh, I can't wait till school starts. These children are driving me, whatever, But I never felt that way. I would say, "Oh, I'd hate for them to go back to school," and I love being a mother. I guess I just loved it.
Rachel and Chuck have been in our class for several months now, and we have enjoyed them so tremendously. They love the Lord, and they love people, and we're blessed to have them in our class.
I can see them as a loving and caring couple, and their devotion to each other and to others. It's really, to me, that's a great thing, and I know they're devoted to the Lord.
Rachel and Chuck have become very special to me. Since I was sick a year ago, they never ceased to call upon me. When they were in the grocery store, they'd call and say, "I'm in the grocery store and thinking about you. Can I get you something?" When they were having a restaurant meal, Rachel would call, "We're having a meal now. Can I bring you one?" And they visited, and they brought me food and love and prayers.
I just want to say that it's a pleasure knowing Chuck and Rachel, and I enjoy being in the class with the knowledgeable man that he is. And when Dean is out for some reason or another, he fills in and leads the Sunday school class, which is a blessing. And I just want to say thank you, Chuck and Rachel.
Well, Rachel and Chuck are definitely people who demonstrate God's love. And even when you meet them out in public, as Thelma has said, they will recognize you and put a blessing on you, just even if it's just brief. And then we are so thankful and fortunate to have them with us every Sunday that they can make it, and they are an added blessing with the Word, and we just so appreciate them.
Chuck and Rachel they were our elders for many months, many years, and always so thoughtful. Chuck called frequently and to just make sure that all was well with us. So the church is blessed with Chuck and Rachel.
I've come to know Chuck and Rachel through our Bible study group. They are not shy to either witness or to give us the benefit of their extensive knowledge of the Bible. I have come to rely on and appreciate that so much. I know that they are so deserving of this recognition, and I wish them the very best.
I have come to know Chuck because he is our Bible teacher at the center. He is a wonderful person, and I know he puts a lot of work into his teaching. Rachel is a fine lady. I like her a lot. She does wonderful work, and she's always around. Best of luck to both of them.
There are shepherds for Christ, and we can be blessed that they are a part of our class and they are part of our church. Congratulations to Chuck and Rachel for our church recognizing your hard work as the oaks of righteousness.
Now, Rachel and I have been married 57 years, and I believe that the main cause, or the main reason we stayed together for all that time, is that we deeply love each other, and we have from the very beginning.
Yep.
I know that we both practice what we believe, that the Lord Jesus put us together. We believe that we're a family unit because God made us that.
Yep.
And we try to work things out. We believe in not letting anger go down with the son. That is, that if there's an issue, we try to solve it before we go to bed. And that's kept our marriage really healthy. You know, Rachel's, very well grounded. And she listens to the Word, she studies the Word, she's constantly in the Word, letting the Lord minister to her spirit. And she is very attentive to what the Lord tells her. She hears from the Lord. She has visions and dreams. So she's a very godly woman. And she had learned the fear of the Lord in her heart. And I think that's what keeps her so well grounded.
Well, I would just say that too. I want to do the will of the Lord, and I want my children, the desire of my heart has always been that the children and the grandchildren will follow the Lord. And so it's praying for them and praying for our marriage, praying for our children, praying for our grandchildren, and just doing what we've learned from the Bible. The Lord did it. He's just worked in our lives.
Mm-hmm.